Hi, everyone. It is time for another Harley on the Headlines, and I'm surely glad you are watching, listening, just absorbing what is from the universe as we put it out there. As we get started, I hope you will consider helping to spread the word. Those like, follow, subscribe buttons, depending on the platform you're watching, and, they help a lot. Only takes a second, and I sure do thank you. Years ago, I used to say something a little bit unusual, but talking, and I would say in the air instead of on the air, just for the fun of it. And there was a reason for that, really, because it was actually a little more accurate. You're not actually on the air when you're broadcasting. You are literally in the air. Bits of you are out there in it. But that was broadcasting. Blowtorch, 50,000 watts at that particular moment. And I've often thought, because those watts, those broadcasts, they go and go and go, and there's no telling where in the cosmos they are now, because that's the way radio waves work. They propagate, they continue to move, they might break apart, and they might hold together. And if they do, they go far. We don't know how to go into space and tune them in and that sort of thing. Although we do know that if we are in space, far away, it is possible to tune into the frequencies from Earth and maybe even watch some television. We'd be watching what happened in the past because of distance and all that, but that's a whole different and fun, sort of rabbit hole to go down. And then it's occurred to many of us, particularly those who are thoughtful, that your negative thoughts and words get sent out there. They have some sort of impact. Don't know if that's true, but it does make a lot of sense because your thoughts are energy. You are energy. Your words form an energetic pattern. All of ours do. I mean, I was flying just in the last week down low, and we were en route from one place to another, and in our way were some broadcast towers, really, really tall ones. And I usually give them a very wide berth. I'm usually half a mile away from them or more, but in this particular case, we happen to get down pretty low. And these are huge broadcast towers, 1,700 feet tall, 3 of them, actually, truly big, big towers. And as we flew by, a little closer than I had intended, because we got an up-close look at them, the radio, the comm radio, communications radio, in the airplane sounded like a snowstorm in my headphones for just a few seconds while we passed by it. I mean, it was big. And I said to the others in the plane, there were 4 of us, hear that? That's interference on our radio from that tower's power being pushed out into the atmosphere. And as I said it, I wondered, wow, how much RF radiation, radio frequency radiation, did we just absorb? I didn't say that out loud, but it occurred to me because I can tell you RF can be dangerous stuff. Anyway, sure hope they were saying nice things. Whatever was being broadcast, If you haven't figured it out by now, the federal government is serious about removing thousands, maybe millions of illegal immigrants from the country. They are trespassers, at the very least, lawbreakers in any case. Now, here's something the people are stamping their feet about it, and they're upset about it, or forgetting, or just don't want to acknowledge. If you get thrown out of the country because you don't have permission to be here, and the law has said for many decades you do need permission, getting thrown out is not the end of the line. It just means if you want to be an American, you need to do what everybody else does and play by the rules. Doesn't matter if you're Caucasian, white, Hispanic, Chinese, Russian. If you break the law to come in, the assumption has to be you're up to no good. So every nation has limits to the numbers of immigrants it can absorb each year. And so does America. Most people don't even know that. There are quotas set by the Immigration Department, have been since way before Reagan. It's the order part of law and order, as in obey the laws and keep good order. So it is past time that law-abiding citizens and green card holders in this country get behind ICE and the Border Patrol as they do their jobs. Illegals were coming into this country by the thousands every day when Joe Biden was deliberately sleepy at the switch about his job. They are leaving by the dozens. It's going to take some time to send them home where they can start over and try to do it the right way. It would be wrong without question for a stranger to cut his way through your back screen door. Take a seat in your living room, rummage around in your kitchen, dig through your medicine cabinet, read your books, watch your TV without asking. At the very least, you would suggest he leave. Try the front door or knock next time, or you just might shoot him because he's in your house. Then some liberal federal judge decides you can't do that. He's a guest. You need to feed him and clothe him, take him to a doctor, pay to educate him, and his family too, by the way. That judge is wrong, obviously. Now, don't tell me it's okay for the trespasser to move into your house because it's a big house and you have plenty of money. You weren't looking because he didn't ask, but what he did is he called home and sent for his friends and family, and while you went to work today, a couple hundred of his buddies are now crowded into every room of what was your house. Some of them have guns. They all have knives. Plus, they come and go, and they like to get high, drinking your beer, though, of course, they were nice enough to bring their own cocaine and fentanyl and other stuff to keep the party going. And that judge says, see no evil, hear no evil, speak no evil. You have to take care of all of them. This is why ICE and the Border Patrol are doing their jobs right now in North Carolina, coming right quick to Louisiana. Hopefully, in the next few years, you'll be able to sit down in your own living room again, waiting for the polite knock on the front door. Well, we are at the end of another hurricane season. Seems we came through it pretty well, huh? Wonder what's up with that. I mean, I don't know about you, but I have been living in quaking fear ever since the mid-'70s, when we were assured that most of America would be a torched wasteland where crops struggle to grow and raging storms scrub and flood our coastlines completely clean of habitation. I don't know. I just don't understand it. I mean, I read the literature. I even reported on it. Could it be we were had? By the way, batten down the hatches. Weather Armageddon is almost upon us again in California, where they like to talk about an atmospheric river that has dumped lots of rain and there are lingering thunderstorms. Look, here's some old pilot's wisdom. Weather tends to come roughly in threes. There are exceptions, sure, but in general, what is 1,500 miles to your west will be with you in about 3 days, sometimes quicker, sometimes slower, sometimes not at all because that weather might dissipate. So why is this true? Well, because the Earth is turning. Air is rising or falling depending on its temperature, and that turning action spins the atmosphere, and we get clockwise turning highs or anti-clockwise, counterclockwise turning lows. Low-pressure air rises, cools, distills, and rain comes down. High-pressure air descends, calms, and flattens the waters, and we bask in happy sunshine. That super short primer, that little weather moment, is simply meant to say that when it's raining and blowing or snowing, even thundering while it's snowing and sleeting, this too will pass, maybe in a few hours, almost for sure in 3 days. Many of us can also remember the partial nuclear meltdown at 3 Mile Island, the movie China Syndrome, and all the other Hollywood products that convinced us that nuclear power production was suicidal lunacy. Chernobyl showed us what happens when our designers get it wrong. Then we were told that oil and gas was our enemy, even though the world's economy, not just America's, runs on it and will be dependent on it for as far into the future as you want to look. And while we in America were being led by the nose of the wacko environmental far left, guess what? The French, yes, darlings of the left, the French, went and powered their whole country with nuclear power plants. Safe nuclear power. Clean, non-polluting nuclear power. So did China, by the way, which is so big and moves so fast, they've also built more coal-fired plants than we've ever dreamed of building. And they are the air pollution kings of humankind, unassailed. Maybe we're starting to figure some things out. Maybe. The plan now is to renovate and restart 3 Mile Island in Pennsylvania. You probably don't know that there is one functioning nuclear reactor at TMI. It isn't on, but it would work. And the Energy Department is going to loan $1 billion of your money to Constellation Energy to get the plant out of mothballs, cranked up, and producing electricity again. It would produce power for about 800,000 homes, but it already has a customer, Microsoft. Microsoft needs the power to run its data centers and expansion into ever more capable artificial intelligence. It isn't actually 3 Mile Island anymore, by the way. They renamed it. It's the Crane Clean Energy Center. The Czech Republic, by the way, has decided to spend $19 billion to double its nuclear power output. China has plans for dozens more nuclear plants. Now, Congress set aside $250 billion for energy infrastructure in 2022. That was the Biden era, but too much of it was aimed at ineffective green initiatives. President Trump is focusing more on nuclear, oil and gas, which we know work. And now states in line for energy expansion and development are saying, please, let's get started. America needs to triple energy production in only a few years to keep up with the timetable the world is setting. If we do, and energy becomes highly affordable again, it'll be a powerful spur, no pun intended, for the economy. California has redrawn its congressional map to make it nearly certain that Democrats will pick up 4 or 5 seats in Congress. Texas did the same thing in the other direction. Now a federal court judge has told Texas it cannot do what California did. Redrawing maps is called gerrymandering. And fact is, Democrats probably invented it, and they certainly perfected it. Massachusetts, for example, has a congressional map that makes it effectively impossible for a Republican to be elected. The Supreme Court has made a ruling on the broader question, by the way. In 2019, the High Court ruled partisan gerrymandering is a political question and not one that federal courts should try to decide or a process a judge might co-opt. Interesting. Republicans are challenging the partisan map in California, too. There are lawsuits and challenges every which way you look. Hearings still to come. You know, I like to find something unusual or funny to end with, and world records are easy places to look, and they come up a lot. The latest comes from Sweden, where a man now owns the record for sticking the most wooden matchsticks up his nose. 81 of them back in there, sticking out, of course. My first thought, why an odd number? There are 2 nostrils. You'd think he could manage 1 more jammed into the side that got shortchanged. I didn't try to count. He does have a big nose. Big Swede. Heck, I actually think this is a nonsense record. I mean, it didn't take a lot of skill. We've already seen people with some really big honkers that look more like misshapen potatoes. I mean, we've seen that, right? I'm thinking 100 easy. You watch or don't. This record's going to fall now that the word is out on it that it's, available. I guess that'll do it. For Harley on the Headlines today, thank you for being there. Thanks for helping spread the word. Hitting like, follow, subscribe really does help. It's not all that hard to do either. Hopefully, there's something for you in these moments. There is for me anyway. I'm Harley Carnes, and we'll do it again.